Nigerian Navy rescues 3 expatriates abducted in Ondo State. Casualties recorded in Borno State as Nigerian troops battle Boko Haram Islamic State in West Africa. On the international front, world powers call for de-escalation in US-Iran face-off. And in sport, Canada Premier League to feature 6 African talents.
This is ANN News.
I am Olajumoke Olatunji. 3 expatriates who were recently abducted by gunmen in Ondo State have regained their freedom. The Nigerian Navy rescued the 3 in Awoye community, Ilaje local government area of Ondo State. Flag Officer Commander, Central Naval Command, Rear Admiral Seidu Garuba said the Navy also arrested one of the abductors and had confiscated the weapons and boats used in the kidnapping. He said other members of the kidnapping gang fled into the creeks with bullet injuries from the Navy's firepower. Where Admiral Garuba also said the intelligence report on the group's activities and plans to move the victims from Delta to Ondo State spurred the activation of military units across the Niger Delta region that constantly monitored the kidnappers. Garuba said the rescue of the 2 Russian and 1 Indian expatriates was accomplished in a surgical operation. He said other members of the group that fled into a nearby creek where bullet injuries have been hunted down with support from community youths. Gunmen had killed 4 naval personnel and abducted 3 expatriates in Age community by Yelsa State last Friday. In another military story, Nigerian troops were involved in a deadly clash in Borno State with Boko Haram terrorists and Islamic State in West Africa. The garrison town of Monguno was reportedly attacked by Boko Haram terrorists who had been unable to overrun it. This time around, on Tuesday night, a patrol team of the Lafia Doli operation faced off with the terrorists and was able to repel them with the aid of reinforcement from troops in other platforms. Casualties were recorded on both sides. This incident happened following the withdrawal of 1,200 Chadian army troops last Thursday, along with the shores of the Lake Chad. This has prompted some residents of Monguno, Damasak, Magumeri and Budo to leave the area. President Muhammad Buhari has summoned 6 governors from the southwest region to a meeting at Aso Rock in connection with the launching today of a new security outfit in the region. The security outfit, code-named Amotekun, has been launched in Ibadan, Oyo State capital, as a joint operation among the 6 states, Ekiti State, Lagos, Ogun, Ondo, Osun and Oyo states to address insecurity in the region. The idea was conceived during a security summit organized by the Development Agenda for Western Nigeria Dawn Commission in July, at a time when kidnapping and armed robbery were rampant on highways across the 6 states. Members of vigilante groups in each state, security experts, and conventional security agencies, including the police and the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, will participate in the security operation. The Inspector General of Police has okayed the Amotekun Southwest Security Operation. The Abuja home of Senator Shehu Sani was reportedly stormed on Wednesday afternoon by officers of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, in connection with alleged extortion charge brought against the former senator from Kaduna. EFCC had arrested Sani last week for allegedly extorting $20,000 from the owner of ASD Motors. The former senator, who represented Kaduna Central Senatorial District from 2015 to 2019, was accused of collecting the money from ASD Motors owner Sani Dauda, with promises to deliver it to EFCC Acting Chairman Ibrahim Magu. Coalition of Public Interest Lawyers and Advocates, COPA, says circumstances surrounding the allegation of fraud against the former senator are vague. It says basis for the senator's guilt should first be established before undertaking a public trial. It suggests Senator Sani's frequent criticism of the state and federal government may have marked him as an enemy of those he opposes. COPA said EFCC should act impartially and by the law at all times. The 3 vacant positions in the Executive Council of the Lagos State chapter of the All Progressives Congress APC have been filled. At the end of the state's elective congress in Lagos, Lanre Ogunyemi, Olusheye Oladejo, and Adewumi Ladigbolu were elected respectively to the positions of Secretary, Publicity Secretary, and Assistant Legal Advisor. The former occupants of those seats were appointed commissioner and special advisors by Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu. Chairman of the Lagos APC, Babatunde Balogun, thanked the leadership and members of the party for a hitch-free elective congress. He also congratulated the governor for choosing those he described as some of the best in the party's executive committee to form parts of his cabinet. More than 200 delegates from all local government areas in the state attended the elective congress. A new warning has gone out to kidnappers and cultists in Lagos State to either leave the state, renounce their membership, or be prepared to right their will. The warning was given by Commissioner of Police, Lagos State Police Command, Hakeem Odumosu, on Wednesday, as he vowed that the command would make them regret their every move. Odumosu gave the warning while briefing journalists on measures put in place by the command to address security challenges in the state. Although he identified cultism and youth gangsterism as major security challenges in the state, the Commissioner of Police said the command had reviewed its strategies and has initiated an approach to eradicate the menace. Odumosu said the police would take the fight to the doorsteps of the gangs and cults. He said they would be fished out, isolated, and brought to justice. He then advised parents and guardians of the youth to monitor the activities and movements of their children and wards to ensure their mission in the public space is legitimate. Coming up, African stories. Fear grips Lamu residents in Kenya in the aftermath of AlShabaab attacks. And later, international news. World powers call for de-escalation in U.S.-Iran face-off. Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now we go around the continent. South Africans have been enduring worsening power crisis for quite some time now. Battle State Power Company, Eskom, has been battling to keep the lights on, even as it contends with breakdowns as its creaking fleet of coal-fired power stations. Angela Kapola reports on what efforts have been made to end the cycle of blackouts.
The state utility has a new CEO. He has his work cut out for him. He has a lot to deal with, from a bloated work complement to an aging fleet unable to consistently meet demands of its industrial users and regional customers.
The job of a leader is not to be a manager. He has good managers, or needs to surround himself by good managers, and his job is to give them direction, inspire them, and focus on strategic issues and structural issues that prepare Eskom to be a utility of the future.
While the new CEO finds his feet, the impact of load shedding has been widespread and has cost the country dearly.
And if we have any long-term load shedding in South Africa, for each month it's going to be wiping at least 2% of our GDP. And that means that we have to really look at how we can get out of this mess in every way.
Many analysts have bemoaned the fact that politicians get involved in the operations of the utility. Some suggest that it is to be expected.
When the organization's performance is failing, it's like an open invitation for politicians to want to get involved in the engine room, because they are under enormous pressure politically from their constituents, from their members, their parties, to find out what is going on. So really it's up to Eskom to get that engine performing properly if it wants to keep the politicians out of the engine room.
The shareholder has been trying to find solutions. In December, the Minerals Minister made an urgent call for suppliers of renewable energy to submit short-term solutions.
We'll probably have to go and look at if we can't get, for example, barges or power ships into our harbors to help us out in the meantime. But it is certainly the biggest risk for South African business, for South African government, and for the South African economy as a whole.
While the utility struggles to find short-term and longer-term solutions, it's emerged that the Eskom board has requested over $70 million from its regulator to pay staff an additional so-called 13th or bonus check, something that is sure to irk consumers as they suffer under load shedding.
Fear is gripping Lamu County in Kenya's serene coastal region, where AlShabaab militants group have been active this year. The group stormed a military base last week that hosts U.S. and Kenya counter-terrorism forces. 3 U.S. personnel were killed in that attack. Many residents sleep in the forest, where they say it is much safer. Reporter Wilkiston Iyabwa is visiting the area.
Hours after the Al-Shabaab attacked a military base in Lamu County on Sunday, locals in a section of villages neighboring the base packed their bags and left their homes. The prospect of more attacks made them fearful of remaining in areas around Boni Forest. So they started the trek, seeking refuge in more densely populated areas, believing that there was safety in numbers. But a visit to Hindi village found residents at home, carrying out evening chores. By day, residents of Hindi in Lamu County go about their usual normal activities, but when darkness falls, they abandon their homes, retreating to the bushes for refuge. Mary and her sister-in-law live right next to each other. This evening, like every evening since the attack, they are preparing the evening meal fast so they can go to bed early. But they won't sleep in their beds. Instead, they will sleep in the thicket.
We don't sleep at night. We're afraid that, like in the 2014 and 2017 attacks, they may come to knock on our doors at night. So we sleep outside in the bushes. We feel safer there.
This secrecy, they believe, could save their lives in case of an attack. Days after the attack, tension still hangs over villages in Lamu County. Some residents have moved to town. Others have moved in with friends, while others still remain at home, hopeful that the situation will normalize. On Tuesday, the United States and the Kenya Defense Forces sent reinforcements to Lamu. The police service has also beefed up security in the county.
On the urban areas, we have beefed up patrols. You know, I have the officers from the National Police Service. We have even our brothers from the other end, and we have the National Police Reservist. In the villages there, we have the National Police Reservist, and we liaise together. Here we are working as a multi-agency team. That is to say, it's not police alone, but all the teams. That is the police, we have the SIPU, we have the R&U, we have even the KDF and other forces. We are working together.
But residents like Mary and her family continue to hide.
Where can we go? This is the only home we know. We can't leave.
They won't feel safe until the guns fall silent.
As the deadline for use of old passports looms this month in Tanzania, the number of applicants for new electronic passports has drastically tripled to an average of 1,200 per day. The old passports will be phased out by January the 30th. Daniel Kiju reports from Dar es Salaam.
The Tanzanian government first announced citizens would need to process new electronic passports 2 years ago, and it gave citizens up to 31st January 2020 to get the new passports, and until that date is when the old passports won't be used. As it stands, so many citizens have been coming up. The number of people coming to get the new passports has doubled, if not tripled.
We had 2 stations, that means here at Kurasin, Dar es Salaam, and the immigration area office in Zanzibar. Right now we have almost 31 stations all over the countries for the Tanzanian citizens to exchange their passports. Also, we just go abroad and we opened almost 44 stations for our Tanzanian embassy abroad. The exercise just goes well and it's smooth here, so we just continue with the exercise.
Richard, tell me, you have these new passports. How do you feel? How has been the process to get them, considering there seems to be a lot of people here?
Yeah, I'm very happy that I have my electronic passport today. And despite of seeing so many people around here, but the speed of processing the documents here is very high. And I'm very encouraged to see that the time taken to process is too short.
Why do you think some Tanzanians, most of them waited to these last days? Now there's a rush. What is it? Life? Is it work? What is it?
No, according to my opinion, I think they are afraid maybe there is a lot of things to be done here. But I wanted to encourage them that once you have all the information required, then you can just get your passport within a short period.
Thank you so much, sir. Once you have all the information required, you just have to come to the immigration office here and you'll be able to process and get your new electronic passport, which is said to have more advanced safety features.
When we return, international news. World powers call for de-escalation in US-Iran face-off. And later, sports. Canada Premier League to feature 6 African talents. Welcome back. This is ANN News. Now to some events happening around the world. In the aftermath of the Ukrainian Boeing plane crash that killed everyone on board, Iran says it will not hand over recovered black box flight recorders to manufacturer Boeing or to the U.S. head of Iran's Civil Aviation Authority, Ali Abazadeh, says the black boxes will be analyzed in the country where the accident took place, in accordance with International Civil Aviation Organization rules. The Ukrainian Boeing 737-800 went down just minutes after taking off from Tehran's airport. All 176 passengers and crew were killed. The crash came at a time of high tension between Iran and the United States, and just hours after Iran carried out missile strikes on 2 air bases housing U.S. forces in Iraq. There is no evidence that the 2 events are linked. Iran's semi-official MEHR news agency says Ukrainian investigators would be a part of the process, but no U.S. affiliation. Experts say under global aviation rules, Iran has the right to lead the investigation. Most of the passengers were from Iran and Canada. The United States and Iran have both stepped back a bit from what looked like a short war path after Iran's latest attack on U.S. bases in Iraq. President Trump backed off on Wednesday from potential war with Iran, indicating he would not respond militarily to the launch of more than a dozen ballistic missiles at bases housing American troops. The 2 countries have exchanged blames for provoking the most direct conflict since Iran seized American diplomats in Tehran in 1979. Trump says no one was killed in Iran's attack earlier this week. He also said damage to U.S. facilities was minimal. Meanwhile, Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, called the attack a slap in the face of the United States. He said Iran will ensure an end to U.S. presence in the region, but he did not threaten any specific further military action. The world leaders are responding to the tensions between the U.S. and Iran, which have been percolating since the killing of Iranian military chief Qasem Soleimani last Friday. World leaders have repeated calls to de-escalate the situation.
The flame continues to burn after the killing of Qasem Soleimani. Many worry that it is pushing the U.S. and Iran to the brink of a war.
I think most Americans are terrified that the United States is going to stumble into yet another prolonged war in the Middle East. The United States has alienated most of its traditional allies in both Europe and Asia. It weakens the United States, reduces American influence.
On Monday, NATO held an emergency meeting calling for restraint and de-escalation in the Middle East. It also said the allies remain in agreement that Iran should never be able to acquire a nuclear weapon. In Brussels, a joint statement by the leaders of the UK, France, and Germany said violence must be stopped. European attempts to salvage the 2015 nuclear deal with Iran are now hanging by a thread after Tehran said it will no longer abide by the deal. German Chancellor Angela Merkel will travel to Russia Saturday to discuss the crisis with President Vladimir Putin. China also voiced its stance, blaming Washington's withdrawal from the nuclear deal for the escalation of the tension. The foreign ministry has also urged all parties to exercise restraint to ensure peace and stability.
Many Senate Democrats have called on House Speaker Nancy Pelosi to send articles of impeachment to the Senate as soon as possible. Majority Leader Mitch McConnell has accused Pelosi of, quote, shameless game playing for vowing not to send over the articles until she has seen the proposed rules for the impeachment trial. Fellow California Democrat Senator Dianne Feinstein also called on Pelosi to send over the articles. Senate Majority Leader McConnell said he can muster the majority of 51 votes needed among his fellow Republicans in the Senate to codify the proceedings without Democratic support. Trump's impeachment trial cannot commence until the Democratic-controlled House sends its articles of impeachment to the Senate. Up next, sport. Canada Premier League to feature 6 African talents. Please stay with us.
You are watching ANN.
We are on the road every day, canvassing throughout Africa for news you really need. We follow this story everywhere, from every corner of Nigeria to the wide African expanse. We bring you what's making headlines. We connect you with news you can use. ANN, African News Network, in a truly African spirit.
Welcome back. This is ANN News and Sport. Commissioner of the Canadian Premier League, David Clanachan, says Canadian Premier League tournaments are giving African talent a chance this season. Clanachan says he believes young African talents can give their careers a boost by playing in the country's top flight league. The first season of the CPL was held in 2019 and featured 30 foreign players, including 6 from Africa. The commission admitted that the Canadian League will be a stepping stone for the young, talented players. Chief Executive Officer of Italy's top football league, Serie A, has apologized for the use of paintings allegedly depicting Western, Asian and black monkeys in an anti-racism campaign. Critics have condemned the artwork as a sick joke. Serie A boss Servo offered his apologies late Tuesday after initially defending the artwork, which had been used to launch an anti-racism campaign at the league's main headquarters in Milan. That is ANN News this evening. Thank you for joining us. For details on these and other breaking stories, visit our website, annafrica.news. Conversation continues on our social media platforms, Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at ANN Africa TV. I am Olajumoke Olatunji. Have a pleasant evening.